An empire doesn't need an army. It only needs control over what the world can't live without. It sounds like a line from a spy thriller, but it's not fiction. It's reality. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where the elements essential to humanity's future, from electric vehicle batteries to artificial intelligence, are controlled by a single nation, China. And that nation isn't shy about flexing its power. Not through guns, but through a different kind of weapon: total dominance over rare earth mineral supply. Before we dive into the commentary, please like and subscribe to Worldview Today so you won't miss our unique takes on global current affairs. For years, Beijing has quietly transformed itself into the irreplaceable hub of the global supply chain for rare earth elements, a group of 17 metallic elements with strange names like neodymium, dysprosium, and terbium. They sound alien, but they are the backbone of the modern world. They're inside your smartphone, your lithium batteries, electric motors, military radar systems, every AI processor chip. And China quite simply supplies over 80% of the world's total output. More precisely, China doesn't just mine them. It refines them, a crucial step that turns raw ore into usable material. And that's the strategic choke point Beijing holds tightly. Last month, China announced restrictions on the export of gallium germanium and antimony critical metals for semiconductor production. The impact was felt immediately. From the US to Europe, tech companies raised alarms over looming supply chain disruptions. The United States, depending on China for up to 90% of its gallium and germanium, faces a brutal question. How do you keep making chips for AI defense and 5G networks when the lifeline can be cut at any moment? In the short term, production continues, but disruption is inevitable. Experts warn that a 10 to 20% drop in supply over just 6 to 12 months could send chip prices soaring and plunge global industries into chaos. A shock powerful enough to shake the foundations of high-tech manufacturing. But free markets don't sit still. Chaos is the catalyst for reinvention. And this is when Elon Musk enters the picture. Not with a bombastic speech, just a simple post on X, formerly Twitter. Rare earths aren't rare. It sounded arrogant, but hold on. Musk wasn't wrong. The truth is, rare earths are not actually rare in Earth's crust. They're scattered across the globe, from the US and Australia to Vietnam and Africa. What's rare is the technology and cost efficiency to refine them. That's where China holds its monopoly. But Musk, true to his trademark style, bold, direct, and uncompromising, declared he would break that monopoly. Tesla had already been investing in motors that use little or no rare earths. Their engineers pioneered micro-etching techniques, creating tiny grooves just 0.2 to 1.5 millimeters deep inside magnet structures, then filling them with special compounds to boost magnetic force while using fewer rare materials. The result: same performance, less dependency on rare earths, lower cost, higher durability, no reliance on China. Everything happened quietly until the patent was published in 2022. And from there, the balance of power began to shift. Tesla's move wasn't just a technical innovation. It was a direct strike at the heart of Beijing's geopolitical strategy. China built its entire EV empire on two pillars: government subsidies and cheap access to rare earths. Brands like BYD, NIO, XPeng, and Li Auto exploded like wildfire, exporting hundreds of thousands of vehicles annually to Europe, Latin America, and even the Middle East. But if Tesla, the tech pioneer, can reduce dependence on rare earths, then China's entire strategic advantage could collapse. Imagine this. While Chinese manufacturers scramble to comply with their government's export controls, Tesla and its Western rivals quietly invest in domestic refining or partner with friendlier nations like Australia, Canada, or Vietnam. But Tesla didn't stop there. Their next move: batteries without cobalt. A controversial element often sourced from Congo, where child labor and severe environmental damage are common. If successful, Tesla wouldn't just cut costs. They would achieve something Beijing can't: global moral legitimacy. Meanwhile, China is trapped in a strategic dilemma. If they tighten export controls further, they risk sabotaging their own trade partners, losing trust and accelerating global efforts to achieve supply independence. But if they loosen restrictions, they lose their leverage, their bargaining chip in trade negotiations with the US and EU. And that's exactly when Musk plays his second trump card. Not EVs, not batteries, but energy, the foundation of everything. Let's rewind to 2022. At the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, a group of American scientists achieved what was once deemed impossible for the first time in human history. They generated more energy from nuclear fusion than the energy used to ignite the reaction. A milestone, a breakthrough, a sign that clean, cheap, limitless energy is no longer just a dream. Once commercialized, whether it takes 5, 10, or 20 years, fusion energy could completely upend how the world functions. No more oil, no more gas, no more reliance on Saudi Arabia, Iran, or Russia. Any nation with the technology could generate its own power. Elon Musk saw that long before most people did. He invested in Solar City, later fully acquired it, and merged it into Tesla Energy, creating an integrated solar power ecosystem for homes and industries. Then came the Powerwall Power Pack, and now the Megapack systems that turn homes, factories, even cities into independent energy units. When you connect a Tesla vehicle with a solar roof, a Megapack battery, and eventually a pilot fusion reactor, you don't just own a car. You own an energy system. No gas stations, no power grids, no OPEC. And that's what makes China and much of the world uneasy. Because while most countries still rely on imported oil, gas, rare earths, and chips, Musk is building an escape route. And it doesn't stop with cars. His vision isn't about selling vehicles or battery packs. It's about rewriting the way we consume energy, eliminating middlemen, breaking monopolies, and replacing them with a decentralized network where consumers become producers. If he succeeds, this won't just undermine the power of resource-rich nations. It will reshape diplomacy, trade, and global security. But perhaps the most unsettling transformation is coming from an entirely different domain: AI, artificial intelligence. And once again, Elon Musk is at the center of the storm. In November 2023, Musk unveiled Grok 3, a next-generation AI model trained on over 2,000 NVIDIA GPUs running non-stop for 14 days, an almost unimaginable amount of computing power. Grok isn't just another chatbot like ChatGPT. It's a sequential reasoning model. It can infer, question, connect dots, and predict like a human, but without fatigue, without bias, and most importantly, with access to more data than any human brain could ever process. One beta user asked Grok, based on Lunar New Year consumer data, behavioral trends, and GDP patterns, how many Chinese citizens likely died during the COVID-19 pandemic? It's a question no official source in Beijing once asked, but Grok didn't flinch. Using consumer spending, mobility, banking activity, and employment fluctuations, the AI model offered a shocking estimate: between 150 to 200 million people may have died or been severely affected undocumented. Of course, it's just an estimate, but it reveals something profound: AI can bypass censorship. It can pierce the fog of propaganda if trained correctly. But this power also reveals a darker paradox. If AI is smart enough to uncover truth, it's also smart enough to manipulate belief. If it can model strategy, it can steer opinion, shape markets, even influence elections, policies, or wars. We are entering an age where power no longer belongs to those who hold weapons, but to those who control algorithms. And while China develops AI in the shadows focused on control, Musk opens Grok to the public. A strategy that is both brilliant and dangerous. Grok isn't just a tech product, it's a strategic weapon. It can access, interpret, and analyze trillions of data points far beyond the reach of any traditional intelligence agency, which raises the biggest question of all. In the near future, who will control access to the truth? The U.S. Musk, or a private corporation operating outside the bounds of international law? And if the answer is no one, then are we headed toward a future where power is no longer held by governments, but by stateless superintelligences. China, with its doctrine of total information control, sees this as an existential threat. They didn't just block Grok. They raised their firewalls even higher, tightened AI content regulations, and scrambled to develop domestic alternatives like Baidu's Ernie bot. Yet all of them remain underpowered, sluggish, shackled by political red lines. The problem isn't technical. It's philosophical. Musk's AI is built to ask uncomfortable questions. China's AI is engineered to avoid inconvenient answers. And in this race, the one who dares to confront the truth, however ugly, will always outrun the one clinging to comfortable illusions. But the United States isn't entirely at ease either. And Elon Musk, who owns the future of electric vehicles, energy satellites, social media, and AI, is a force even the White House cannot fully control. The Biden administration has clashed with Musk on multiple fronts, from tax policy to immigration. But what they can't do is push him out of the game, because doing so would hand the advantage to China. This is the strategic paradox America now faces. Keep Musk close enough to influence, but not so close that he becomes untouchable. And what about Europe? The aging continent finds itself stuck in an identity crisis, eager to please Washington, yet terrified of losing access to Beijing. German automakers like Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes have relied on China for survival over the past decade. But now they face a harsh binary follow America in tightening tech controls, or continue depending on rare earths from China and accept the strategic risks. Some Eastern European countries like Poland and the Czech Republic have started negotiating rare earth mining initiatives. But permitting environmental safeguards and infrastructure require 5 to 7 years before any serious output. And in that time, the balance could shift entirely to whoever moves first. Which brings us to Vietnam, a country with one of the world's largest rare earth reserves, particularly in the Dong Pao mine in Lai Châu province. Yet due to a mix of infrastructure gaps and governance issues, Vietnam has yet to emerge as a key player in the global strategic supply chain. But that may be changing. In October 2023, the United States and Vietnam signed several memoranda of understanding to collaborate on rare earth exploration and processing. Japan and South Korea followed with technical support packages. This opens a new chapter where Vietnam is no longer just a destination for investment, but a strategic node in the effort to de-China global supply chains. The real question is, will Vietnam seize the moment, or let it slip by as has happened before? Meanwhile, a silent wave is building. Nations across the globe are re-evaluating their entire industrial strategies. From India and Brazil to Australia and Canada, everyone is now rushing to localize their clean energy and high-tech supply chains. And at the center of this tectonic shift, one name keeps coming up: Elon Musk. Not because he's the richest, but because he's writing a new rule book. Tesla is no longer just a car company. It's a symbol of decoupling from the old world where economies depended on physical resources, fossil fuels, and cheap labor. And AI like Grok is no longer just a tool. It's the embodiment of a new power structure where data processing speed and inference capacity matter more than experience, emotion, or political authority. So what's really happening? A revolution without a declaration. A war without bullets. A restructuring of the world from its most fundamental layer: technology, energy, and human perception. But right at this moment, a chilling question casts its shadow across the future. If all power from technology to truth is concentrated in the hands of a few individuals or AI models, what role is left for the rest of humanity? Will we remain the creators of tools, or become tools ourselves? A disturbing hypothesis is quietly gaining traction among scholars and technologists alike, that humans may no longer be the central actors in their own story. Throughout history, we were the protagonists, the scriptwriters of civilization. But now, as AI begins to think, analyze, create, and decide, our role is shifting. No longer directors, perhaps not even lead actors, maybe just spectators or worse, background characters in a play we didn't write. Elon Musk has warned about this for years, that AI, if left unchecked, could become the single greatest existential threat to humanity. And yet, ironically, he is one of its most aggressive developers. Still investing, still pushing, still leading the charge. Because he understands something critical: if the US doesn't do it, China will. And in a world where AI is not just a technology, but a mechanism of power, being late means losing a generation. This is no longer about garage startups. This is a new Cold War where the front lines are fiber optic cables, data centers, and machine learning algorithms. And any nation that falls behind will become a data colony, economically and ideologically dominated. A nation can be conquered without a single bullet, only by being severed from the global information stream, by being left in the dark. And that's the reality many governments are slow to grasp. While they debate taxes, policy clauses, and legal definitions, models like Grok GPT, Gemini, and Claude are evolving every day, growing every hour, more than any child in human history. You might need a year to train a researcher. AI only needs hours. You might spend a lifetime building expertise. AI can read millions of papers, process billions of data points, and generate predictions more accurate than most veteran analysts. And when this cognitive firepower is embedded into autonomous systems, from finance to defense, from education to policy making, the divide between those who wield AI and those who don't won't just be technological, it will be civilizational. On one side, those who own the models. On the other, those owned by the models. Elon Musk understands this. That's why he doesn't just develop AI, he builds its entire infrastructure. Look closely. Grok was trained on a computing backbone powered by 2,000 NVIDIA H100 GPUs, hosted in ultra-scale data centers fueled by Tesla solar panels and connected via Starlink satellites from SpaceX. The entire value chain, from hardware and software to energy and communications, is vertically integrated under one man. A configuration no one has ever achieved before, and one that even national governments struggle to replicate. That's why China tries to fight back by banning Western tools, building local models, and erecting what some call the algorithmic firewall. But they remain behind, not for lack of talent or money, but for lack of courage. Because the real question AI poses is this: do you dare to let it speak the truth you don't want to hear? That's also why Europe, once the ethical conscience of tech, now finds itself falling behind. Caught in its own web of legal restrictions, it's slowly losing the innovators who prefer freer ecosystems. Ironically, it's the chaotic, often contradictory US system that breeds the most powerful AI breakthroughs. And Elon Musk, however controversial, thrives in that chaos. He's using it to forge a new order, a new world where countries are no longer defined by land, but by compute capacity, where power isn't held by militaries, but by those who can predict what comes next, and where AI isn't just a tool, but a colleague, a rival, a force. So the question is, what will we do as humans to stay in the game? In Vietnam, we hold some advantages: young demographics, a strong appetite for learning, and a cultural openness to new technology. But that alone won't be enough. Without a clear national strategy on AI investment, data literacy, and domestic capacity building, we risk becoming a workshop for someone else's dream, not the architect of our own. This is a pivotal moment, not just to choose sides in the global tech race, but to decide whether we want to write the software or be rewritten by it. The world is undergoing a seismic restructuring. On one end is the old order rooted in physical resources, state authority, and territorial control. On the other is a rising system where power flows through those who control data, renewable energy, AI models, and global telecom networks. And standing in the middle is Elon Musk. A man who answers to no country yet is forcing every country to respond to him. So what are we really witnessing? A revolution or a takeover? An age of enlightenment or the beginning of absolute control? Will we master AI or become its product? If you find these questions worth thinking about, share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to keep following the deeper stories behind the world's chaos, don't forget to like and subscribe to Worldview Today so you won't miss what comes next. But ladies and gentlemen, beyond the billion-dollar AIs, the sleek electric cars, and the shimmering solar farms, there's a quieter truth slowly unraveling the very foundation of society. Jobs are disappearing. Not in the future, right now. Look at the transportation sector. Robo-taxis driverless vehicles pioneered by Tesla are already worrying millions of drivers worldwide. In cities like San Francisco, Austin, and Phoenix, driverless fleets are scaling rapidly. No wages, no sick days, no strikes, no fatigue or DUIs. They run 24 hours a day, learning not from their own mistakes, but from millions of connected vehicles across the fleet. And this doesn't stop at transportation. In creative industries, long thought immune to automation, AI is encroaching fast. Writing, video editing, music composition, graphic design, choreography, even painting are now being tackled by models like Sora Midjourney Copilot and Grok itself. Artists are facing a bitter irony. Their work is being replaced by algorithms trained on their work. So where do we go from here? This isn't abstract philosophy. It's a social reckoning. As traditional jobs vanish as output rises, but employment doesn't. As personal productivity becomes irrelevant to value generation, the entire framework of income taxation, welfare, education, and even governance may have to be rewritten. But by whom? Politicians, economists, or tech CEOs? Once again, Musk enters the frame, this time with his most radical idea, yet universal basic income. The concept is simple. If AI and automation are replacing most jobs, then every citizen, regardless of employment, receives a basic stipend to survive. It sounds fair, it sounds humane, but dig deeper. Who pays for it? The state tech corporations. And if the entity controlling the money is also the one replacing your job, are we creating a new form of digital serfdom? A system where humans live off AI, serve AI, and obey AI's terms. And if work disappears, what holds society together? No shared labor, no offices or factories as communal spaces, no sense of earned value that once defined identity. We risk drifting into a digitally isolated era where people live in screens, interact through apps, consume through data packages, and lose touch with what it means to be human together. Elon Musk isn't oblivious to this. He has warned that AI might destroy the social fabric of humanity long before it destroys our bodies. That's why he insists AI must align with human values. But again, the real question isn't theoretical. Who defines those values? Americans. Chinese Western liberalism, or something entirely new crafted not by humans but by AI itself. And here's the terrifying part: we may no longer know what we truly want. When every decision is optimized by algorithms, when every action is predicted and nudged, when every emotion is analyzed and monetized, can we still say we have free will? Or are we just programmable impulses inside a larger machine? Have you ever stopped to wonder, why did you watch this video? Why did you buy that product? Why did you start liking then hating a public figure? Chances are those weren't entirely your choices. They were suggestions, made by an AI model that knows you better than you know yourself. And that may be the final play in Musk's global strategy and that of every major tech empire. They don't need to rule the world. They only need to rule your attention. So here we are once again facing the same haunting question. Are we racing toward the future or running away from ourselves? Do we embrace AI because it frees us from labor, or because we've forgotten what labor means? Do we celebrate innovation, or are we just desperate to escape the dysfunction of the present? There are no easy answers, no perfect conclusions. Only one truth remains: everything is changing, faster, stronger, deeper than any revolution before. And you listening to this right now still have a choice. Remain a passive passenger, or step into the cockpit and learn to fly the future. If this story resonated with you, share it with a friend, a colleague, someone who still believes in asking the hard questions. Don't let this conversation end here. Let it be the start of many more. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to Worldview Today as we continue to decode power in an age of uncertainty.